Welcome to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex. Today we're going to be taking a look at Bayonetta 3 on the Nintendo Switch. Now this action experience, fair to say it's been long awaited, but can it live up to the hype? Well, that's what I'm here to find out as we break down a story, gameplay, graphics, the frame rate and the audio. So with that luck, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews and deals daily, and let's get started. If you are thinking about grabbing a Bayonetta 3 then, or anything else in fact from the eShop, consider using cornershop.gg for instant delivery email eShop credit. You'll get 10% off at checkout using a code CORNER. Story then, and once again we'll be controlling Witch Bayonetta alongside a slew of other characters. In the 12 or so hours it takes to beat the main campaign though, we'll be meeting a huge cast of characters, some old, others new, as we face an enemy here that are man-made bioweapons. This enemy they're out to destroy the multiverse, which in turn leads to some incredible locations and moments. Bayonetta on a story front, it's no question often kind of convoluted, honestly, taking things all over the place, but it works down to some fantastic writing and a great handle on that Bayonetta personality that's always made them such a likeable personality, and also that goes for this alliance of characters as well. It all just goes a long way. Gameplay then, and I'll say it immediately, while it doesn't all work for me today, this game absolutely delivers. It's easily one of the most, if not the most, action-packed games I've played on the Nintendo Switch. On seeing trailers on the lead up to launch, I couldn't help but think, how is this all going to come together? But it works, and yeah, you'll be basically battling your way through a map with chapters, each containing verses, so think almost like check marks for your progression. My favourite part then, like most of you out there about Bayonetta, it's always been that combat and the weapon selection. That is no different here. Of course, we begin with the trademark Scarborough Fair pistols, but we quickly unlock new options. Think a massive gun that does as much damage swung as it does firing, or flying discs, my personal favourite. The list goes on as well, and you can equip and then freely switch between two weapons at any time. The beauty of the combat though, it's the intensive combo driven control scheme, from heavy attacks to weak to range to juggling enemies in the air. New characters as well, they introduce new concepts like the ability to block and parry. It constantly keeps you on your toes, and the more you invest in learning the mechanics, the more the game rewards you with over the top violence. It is clearly the focus as well, because the game not only packs a training location that is accessible between missions, but it's also the loading screen as well. On top of this then, each weapon has an accompanying demon, and not only gets their own level, such as a, let's call it, kaiju on rails chase, but they can also be summoned in battle at any time to basically take out some of your opponents. They also then double as actions for Bayonetta that impacts the way she moves. The Scarborough Fair, for example, it's a flight almost mechanic, but others include actions such as wall walking and rope swinging. Each of these weapons then, and the demons that you can call onto the battlefield or leverage pretty much throughout the entire game, it's all going to tie back then to a skill tree. Here we can assign points and basically learn new moves or do things such as increase our health bar and our magic meter. That magic meter, that is basically what you will use to control the demons. If you bring them onto the battlefield, it is going to be for a short amount of time only, so always keep an eye on that. It is in the lower left of the screen. Difficulty then, we have easy, normal and hard essentially, but the real way to win in this world, manage that leveling up, master the dodge mechanics, and then stock up on items from the store. You can access this store at any time between missions or at certain locations in levels. Here we can buy everything from health to temporary invincibility to accessories, and these accessories, they actually play a part on our character, such as impacting enemies' attack options. The biggest thing of those though you'll need to master, that is the dodge. This is because, get that timing just right, you'll enter what is called witch time. I think slow motion, but it's so often, especially in boss filling, like screen filling encounters, the difference between winning and losing. The locations really support the action as well, with a nice variety of designs from wide open to platforms falling away. Another highlight for me though again, and this was in the trailer, but battling your way down a train that ends up flying through the air. The multiverse idea, it just allows that creativity to shine throughout. Each level then it will award you a score based around skill and deaths, and this can actually be uploaded to leaderboards, which adds a nice dash of replayability as well. Outside of that then, expect levels and special locations that set specific challenges or maybe timed defense, others that transition to a 2D plane, briefly for what is essentially a dash of stealth. And then, as I mentioned, on rails moments, there's a really good one in a runaway train and there's an enemy chasing behind you. It's definitely often, well nearly always out there, but that is a good thing. It's not shy about why Bayonetta became such a cult classic, and it absolutely embraces it. That said as well, it's clearly an adult game, especially when it comes to some of the outfits, or should I say lack of. If it's not your thing, or let's say you've got younger house members around, you can soften it a bit thanks to a menu option that the game introduces in the opening moments. It's called Angel Mode. The only other thing worth knowing, these different items leveling up that we've discussed so far, it requires currency, and these come in a few forms that you'll be collecting along the adventure. Problems then, and I don't have a huge amount honestly, but a few of the, let's call them optional activities, they don't quite capture the magic of the rest of the game. The 2D elements, though there were few of them, I wasn't all of that impressed. And then there's a kaiju battle moment that is nothing more than rock, paper, scissors, and it is incredibly dull. Then finally, given the speed and the intensity of the action, the camera can definitely be problematic, especially when you launch a demon onto the battlefield. That said though, look, overall, what else can I say really? I had an absolute blast. Graphically then, it's pretty damn stunning. Sure, there's pixelation and there's noticeable popping at points during the experience, but it's pretty clear they've pushed the Nintendo Switch hardware with this one, and they've managed to deliver something that feels incredibly special. With just the sheer amount of visual effects alone as well during confrontations, I was just incredibly impressed. Everything about it screams epic though, from the size of the locations to screen-filling enemies, and the animations particularly impressive as Bayonetta and company deliver what I would describe as a ballet of destruction. With such a nice variety in locations though, if I had to say a negative, I would say the enemy designs are a little, just I guess repetitive as they are introduced to the action. Just occasionally as well, it's not always clear on where we need to head next. It's also worth noting that in handheld there's a noticeable drop in that resolution, and with the action being so frantic as well, it can be a little easy to lose track of what is happening on such a small screen. Additionally, there's going to be a few locations where the camera really pulls back, which may prove, just a tad more difficult on handhelds. Performance then, and it's a curious design here. Like many, I saw the trailer, didn't really understand how they would pull it off. I remember that trailer, the train sequence, buildings collapsing, all sorts happening. Well, it seems that the core gameplay here, when you're on foot, it's targeting 60. Typically, it's landing somewhere between 45 and 55. It is variable. That may be a problem for some, but it honestly feels fine. I had no issues personally. In other sections though, like the trailer bit, which I would describe as cinematic on rails, it's actually a locked 30 as you will see in the footage. It was a smart decision because it works while keeping the whole style of the game intact, and it makes a sacrifice that actually makes sense to deliver something stable. Audio finally, and the soundtrack is incredible. The music consistently shifts to the style of the character in front of us. That means we get everything from blockbuster-esque to jazz to a more pop-punk sound. It supports the action though as it should, and I'd be happy to listen to this offline. The same can be said about the quality of the sound effects as well, are just incredibly well done. Finally, voice acting, given the recent controversy, and yeah, honestly, what we get here, it is fantastic. Hale has done a good job of taking over the role, and the supporting cast, they are fantastic as well. So the final verdict, and Bayonetta 3 for me, it delivered exactly what I wanted, a continuation of a fantastic character story who absolutely deserved it. The gameplay remains much in the way of what we've seen in past entries, but they've done enough tweaks here that you can see the growth. That's all then supported simply by the size of the world and the over-the-top nature of the combat at hand. Problems, sure it has some, but none can dampen what is one of the best games I've played year to date on the Nintendo Switch. So with that in mind today, an amazing 9 out of 10, and I strongly suggest you go ahead and check it out. Will you be adding Bayonetta free to the library then? Let me know in the comments below. Then hit subscribe, join us here for reviews and deals daily, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.